Hello and welcome back to the final episode of the Boropolis podcast, just for this season, not forever. As always, I am joined with Nathan, and off the back of a wonderful win at the Riverside to cap off an up and down roller coaster of a season, we've got more to discuss. There's all sorts going on, Nathan. Still, it should be sort of just slowly coming to an end this season, and then there's different news lines, there's new contracts, there's talk of players signing on, there's talk of players leaving, and the transfer window hasn't even opened yet. So we've got an awful lot to talk about. Nathan, how are you? I mean, I've seen you already today, so I know that you're not sort of in a bad mood. You seemed in quite a good mood at the match, but for the listeners and viewers, how are you doing? How's your bank holiday weekend got off to a start?
Yeah, got off to a good start, Chris. Yeah, I'm fine, in high spirits. And after this afternoon's performance against Watford and the result mainly, I'm very, very upbeat heading into next season. And every bit of news coming out of Middlesbrough in the last week or so has just ringed massively positively. So that's sort of mirrored itself onto my moods, and it'll hopefully make an enjoyable podcast to end season three of the Boropolis podcast.
I know, I mean, how are we at this stage already? It's beyond belief, really. Just before we go any further, is the Middlesbrough top you're wearing? Because if you watch on YouTube, you will notice that Nathan sort of started trying to wear a Boro top every single episode. Is that an original or is that a remake that they released a few weeks back?
It's an original handed to me from my granddad. It's the one that we won the cup in 2003 and 4. So yeah, really nice shirt, and me wearing this shirt to games has coincided with quite the run.
So, Nathan, as you say, lots of good news this week. I think the only place to start really is confirmation. The man, the myth, the legend, he signed on for another year. We kind of already knew that it was done and dusted, or it was going to be done and dusted over the summer. I mean, last year they actually sort of strung us along until pre-season, and I think in the end, I managed to spot the fact that his Mizuno boots were in one of the preseason training videos before it had actually been announced that he'd signed another year's extension. Of course, I'm referring to Johnny Howson. He signed again, announced yesterday. He pretty much confirmed it himself on the 12 man podcast, but the official confirmation was yesterday. And I mean, it's just one less thing to worry about and one more thing to be happy about, isn't it?
Yeah, Captain Fantastic. We all love him. And yeah, he just keeps playing at a ridiculously good level for the division that we're in, and stands out a million miles when he's not in the team. So yeah, really pleased that he's signed on, and watching his interview on the club website, and talking about his goals for the future, the reasons that he's carrying on. It's just a real nice thing to see. And yeah, me and yourself had a little conversation last night about what category he falls into now. And I mean, of course, Grant Ledbetter stands in a category on his own at the minute with a promotion on his Middlesbrough CV. But if Johnny Howson can sneak one in before he calls it a day, then do you reckon he makes that jump into Ledbetter category?
Yeah, I think he absolutely does. This was basically our discussion yesterday, wasn't it? Is he already there? And I think just because, obviously, as we said yesterday, just because Ledbetter did have that promotion, he's just that slight level higher. But I mean, just in terms of Johnny House, and we were saying last night, I mean, even on the 12 man podcast, which if you haven't watched that already, of course, it was a couple of days before the announcement of the contract, but there was a load more really good answers from him and well worth a watch if you want to go and check that out and you haven't already. Um, and even in his club interview as well yesterday, once it had been confirmed, something that I said to you was it's just really refreshing to listen to a footballer like him, because you can tell whether it's BBC Tees, whether it's the club, whether it's a fan channel, every single answer when he is speaking to anyone, you can see the thought behind it. He's not a man of empty words. Everything that he says has got a reason and a meaning behind it. And it's, I don't know. I hate sometimes when people say, oh, he gets it. I hate that phrase, but you just get the feeling, and obviously because of his age, he's coming towards the back end of his career, so he's slightly more mature, and he probably does. He's starting to get to that stage of his career where he's reflecting on things and just cherishing all of the moments that he's still having whilst he's playing. But he's just so thorough with everything, and it's really nice because you can tell not only is he a fantastic footballer, he just seems like a fantastic human. He just seems like a really, really good bloke. And I think he even knows himself that he mentioned it. We were discussing about the awards interviews from the official club awards. And obviously after he'd won Players Player, he even spoke about being a little bit of like emotional, really, but that he'd sort of been awarded that, and spoken about the fact that, he's not a shouter and a baller as a captain, but he's more a set the highest example possible and let people follow. And that just speaks volumes. You can see all of the mutual respect that all of the playing staff and even some of the coaching staff have for him. And it's just, yeah, I mean, as you say, in terms of that legend sort of status, he's teetering on the edge, just about to go into that Ledbetter category. And I just hope, I mean, it would be, he's probably got another few seasons, but in terms of the script writers and the fairy tale ending, if he could be part of a promotion, let's say next season, it would just be perfection, really, wouldn't it? It's he always speaks about not yet quite achieving what he set out to do when he signed for us. And if there's one man that it would make me more happier than anyone, is if we achieved anything substantial, is in a promotion or winning something with Johnny Howson involved, and probably as captain as well.
Yeah, Johnny Howson lifting a trophy that gets Middlesbrough back to the Premier League would be absolutely ridiculous, and something that I'm so wishing we'll see in next season, or the season after, or the season after, or the season after, because he just keeps going. Um, but yeah, Johnny Howson, he's a modern day legend. But we just need that promotion, don't we? And it feels like everything's so positive at the minute, so you can't see why not.
Yeah, I mean, it's a bold statement, but the overriding joy of just capping off the season in such good fashion is slightly taken over this podcast. I have realised over the last few weeks we're getting slightly ahead of ourselves. We could lose our best players by the time we start next season. But yeah, as I alluded to as well, obviously the awards were this week, the official club awards. If you are listening to us, please do stay tuned, because the Boropolis Middlesbrough team awards are going to be at the back end of the podcast. But yeah, not really any shocks, to be honest. Johnny Howson won Players Player, and of course Rav Vandenberg, young player and player of the season. Sam Greenwood, goal of the season for obviously the free kick against Leicester. Any real shocks there for you? I mean, for me, all of the awards that were actually given out at everything that I voted for. So, I mean, kind of a little bit of a spoiler there in terms of those awards. But yeah, I thought Rav thoroughly deserved both awards.
Yeah, he did really well to pick up both. But as a young player coming into a new country and playing for a side that in the beginning was really struggling towards the beginning of this season, trying to integrate with a lot of new teammates that were also coming into a new culture, a new team, playing out of position at times, playing at right back, playing at left back in that Sheffield Wednesday game. Yeah, he's done remarkably well, and yeah, it's one of our best hopes for the summer that we just keep him locked away and yeah, keep him locked away till the end of the transfer window, or possibly just give him another deal with revised terms because he's been sensational this season. To earn Player of the Year in your first season for any club is fantastic, but to be 19 and doing that is just outstanding, really. He's a class above and he's only going to get better. He's already up there for one of the best central defenders in the championship this season. So yeah, he's going to stand out a mile next season, isn't he? When hopefully we get off to a good start, a better start than last season, and with these boys being integrated into this side, having a full season under the belts now, hopefully not going to lose too many players. Rav's going to be a part of that. Yeah, hopefully we kick on, and he's going to be a real key component in a side that is going for it at the top of the division next season.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's quite funny that when you think back to right back to the start of the season and his first competitive Middlesbrough appearance involved him absolutely gifting Huddersfield a goal in one of the early rounds of the Carabao Cup. I mean, it's quite funny, really. And I think even then, that struck me on that night, because even though early rounds of the Carabao Cup, unless you're actually at the games, it's virtually impossible to watch them. But from the people that were there that night, a lot of people basically said it was almost people took notice of him because of the fact he'd made such an error, and then just sort of it didn't really phase him for the rest of the night. And especially given his age, it just showed early doors the type of stuff he was made of, really. The fact that, yeah, okay, I've made a mistake on my debut in England in a competitive game, but it's not going to phase me. It's not going to ruin my performance. It's just something that I'm just going to brush off my shoulder and carry on. And I mean, yeah, as you say, he's played right back, left back. Obviously, it took a while for us to actually see him in his best position, but I think now, I mean, there's been a lot of chatter about all of the centre halves we're going to have available next season, but for me, there's only one centre half that is a guarantee, and it is him. If Rav Vandenberg is fit, he has to play in the centre of defence with whoever, because he is that good. And I mean, that's a statement in itself when you think of some of the defenders that we have available and are going to add to that as well, probably in the summer. It's a testament to how good he's been. And I think I've already made this statement on the podcast. I'm absolutely adamant he's probably going to go on to be probably one of our record sales, if not the record sale we've ever made, because he is that good. I really think he's top level. And that's why he rejected a load of top level European clubs before signing for us, which is even funnier. But yeah, obviously, as well as the awards and the house and news, sort of a little bit more of a confirmation or a nod towards Michael Carrick, confirming that he's going to sign a contract in the coming weeks. Hasn't yet officially been announced, but in his pre-Watford press conference, he sort of said, I'm happy here. We're getting closer. You know, there's still things that need to happen, but it sounded to me like he was just confirming the inevitable. And I sincerely hope that is the case, because as we said on the last podcast, you can have as many good players as you like, but the way that he's dealt with everything this season, the impact that he made last season, for me, he's got to be one of, if not the best managers in the Championship. And I don't make that statement lightly. I think he is that good. And I just hope, for the sake of us being able to retain him as a manager, that we do get off to a good start next season. And he's basically not by the time we are sort of approaching Christmas time or a few months into the season, we're right amongst it at the top of the league. So if someone does come sniffing, he's got every reason to just go, no, I've got a job to finish here, because he's that good and he's just phenomenal. Again, listening to his interview at the awards, he's just, everything he says is just class. He is relaxed. He dresses well. He's just, honestly, I still look at him now and think, if we're coasting in games, I reckon he could just do a job, just dictate, just receive the ball from the centre halves and just tell everyone what they should be doing, whilst also probably still being the best player on the pitch. I think we're just so lucky to have him.
Yeah, and I think something that should be said is that this season's probably made him a better manager than last season,
Yeah, absolutely.
despite last season having a plethora of really good players to pick from and getting off to a ridiculously good start and cementing himself as a top manager this season, having to rebuild a squad, having lost a lot of his better players, rebuilding a squad with young players, integrating them into the first team, and getting them playing a certain way. He's faced a lot of adversity in terms of the amount of injuries that we've had. Obviously, in that Christmas period, not really being able to rotate the squad at all. And then going into January, losing Rodgers, who was probably our standout player at the time. And yeah, the injuries have continued pretty much all season. When the form was ridiculously poor, he changed his formation, changed his principles a little bit, and yeah, the boys got some more confidence back because of that changing system. Because Boro got sent off at the first in the first half at the Riverside, and yeah, winning a couple of games, playing a different way, built the confidence back into the players, and yeah, we've completely just kicked back into gear, and yeah, look like a really good side again. To go and only lose one game in 12 following Stoke, which was a completely abject afternoon. And we raised questions at the time that he probably had up until the next international break before there would have been serious questions raised because of the position that we were in. But after that Stoke game, looking back and looking at his interview, and you see that he remained calm, there was no panic. And despite going into the next game against Norwich, going 1-0 down early and being as bad as we were against Stoke in the opening 10 minutes, I suppose game state does matter. But yeah, it changed it round playing that system. And yeah, he's earned his just rewards. He's going to be handed a new contract. Hopefully he signs it. And yeah, the future is hopefully a very bright one with Michael Carrick at the helm.
Yeah, absolutely. And as you say, and I think one thing that we have touched on, but he does deserve an awful lot of credit for, the fact that it sort of ties in with what you said about this season making him a better manager. The fact that in the arguably the lowest point of the season after Stoke, he changes things around, goes to a back five. At that period, we didn't even have a fit striker available. And not only did he utilize that back five and begin to get us playing again, start to get important points on the board, throughout the transition of that, we've gone from using a back five and being solid to then transitioning back into the way that Michael Carrick wants us to play, with a back four, three floating in behind the striker, and really just being as good of a watch as what we have been in the last few weeks. And I know, obviously, the end goal, we haven't reached the playoffs, but I think with the circumstances, the injuries, and everything that we've sort of gone through this season, the fact that we've gone up and down, Carrick's changed and tinkered and used the squad to the best of his ability is just, again, it's almost more, and it's not because of the position we were in under Wilder, but it's almost just as impressive for me as what we did last season because of the circumstances that he's had going against him this year.
Yeah, 100%. I think the ability to sort of change your principles and hold your hands up and sort of accept that things weren't working and the ability to adapt is something to be commended. And it's sort of, well, not sort of, it has resulted in us going on a really good run of form and changed our fortunes around heading into the final 12 games of the season. And now we've built a real good amount of momentum to head into the summer to hopefully sign a load of players on that are going to be the difference makers for us that we discussed on last week. And hopefully this momentum takes us forward into next season and we get off to just a relatively good start. Not a rocket start, just a half all right start for once, rather than losing 7 games out of the first 8 or whatever it was this season.
Yeah, I mean, it would be a help considering I think in the end we finished 4 points off the playoffs after today. When you think of some of the games that we threw away and some of the games that you've come away from, especially at home this season against, and I'll put it kindly, utter dross that we failed to capitalise on. It's it, I probably should be more frustrated, but I'm not because obviously we've just ended the season in such good fashion. But yeah, even if we'd have just won 2 or even one of the games earlier on in the season, it might not have sort of panned out the way that it has done. But yeah, I mean, talk about a roller coaster of a season. It seems like I think you said it in the last podcast, we've almost, this season's been split into horrendous start, really good run, weirdly sort of inconsistent patch, awful run, really good run, season ended. It's been weirdly sort of chopped into little chunks of form. It hasn't just been up and down throughout. It's been solid patch, horrendous patch. And yeah, we're just hoping to find that obviously a little bit more consistency, especially against the teams lower down the table next season. But yeah, Nathan, obviously to cap off the season today, to cap off this good run of form that we ended the season with, Watford come to the other side. I've got to be honest, although there was nothing riding on the game, I wanted to end the season on a high with a good performance, and we did do exactly that, really. And I don't know if it's just the run of form we're in. I don't know if it's certain players that are in purple patches at the moment. I had absolutely no doubts that we were going to get exactly that today. I turned up at the Riverside expecting a win, and that's exactly what we got. And let's be honest, it was never in any real doubt. The only doubt that was in my mind was, I wonder when Latte scores the first goal.
Yeah, it was almost a matter of when, not if. And yeah, I felt the same, if I'm honest, going into today's game. Just felt that it was just nailed on that we were going to win. I don't know what it was. I just thought that with it being final day, the boys would put in a good performance and score a few goals, and we'd run out comfortable winners, and that was exactly what we got. Had plenty of chances to score. Obviously, the first goal comes from Latte. Obviously, it was him that was going to be the goal scorer. A great cross from Ayling just to pick him out right on a plate, and a really tidy finish as well to get his leg round it and bury it in the bottom corner. And Yeah, I mean, I found today's game quite funny to watch, really, looking at Lath up against two centre halves in Sierralta and Hoot, and he just bullied them all afternoon, really. And you could see it was getting to them as well. They were constantly having a word with him, constantly pushing him, and
Yeah.
Lath was just like laughing at them.
He gave them a torrid afternoon. He really did. And I don't think the skill set that he has, the pace he has, the one thing that doesn't, well, everyone's aware of it if you watch Laugh, but probably doesn't get mentioned as much as everything else is how hard he works. If he
Yeah,
gives the ball away, he's happy to chase half the length of the pitch and try and attempt a slide tackle. Even if he doesn't make it, he's wiping someone out to try and win the ball back. And it's that sort of attitude and work rate that it's not just the goals as to the reason why everyone seems to love him. Yeah, that's definitely helped a lot, but it's the movement, it's the pace, and it's just the fact that he's like a Duracell bunny. He just doesn't know when to stop. It gets to the last 10 minutes of games and he's still sprinting down chasing centre halves. And you just think, Christ, if I was a centre half, I'd just be turning around and saying, give it a rest. Honestly, it's the last game of the season. We've got nothing to play for. Will you just leave me alone, please?
yeah. He just absolutely battered the pair of them all afternoon. And yeah, it was really nice to see Lath come out on top like he has done against countless centre half partnerships in the last 6 weeks or so. Obviously, I think we forgot to mention April's Championship Player of the Month as well
Yeah,
for
of course. Yeah.
Lath,
More good
which
news.
yeah, more good news. Fully deserved, by the way. Just scoring goals every single week, as mentioned. It's not if he's going to score, it's when. And he's just been fantastic for probably a 6 week period now, as mentioned. Yeah, slight bump in the road with Hoot scoring from that corner and getting Watford level. Yeah, it was a nice goal actually for the goal that gets us back in front. Greenwood plays a massive part. I think we'll discuss a couple of players a little bit later, but Greenwood in this instance flicks it round two players, delivers a ball across the box, and yeah, in comes Bangs to steam it in, and yeah, the celebrations for that goal were very nice, just wholesome, seeing team spirit. Yeah, very nice seeing the whole team go over and celebrate that goal with him.
Yeah, even Senny enjoying that one, which I mean that made it even all the more wholesome, as you say. But yeah, really good work from Greenwood. In fairness, and I'm glad he got on the pitch because obviously, if he doesn't end up staying, we don't know. There hasn't really been sort of any mention of if that is going to be made permanent. And do you know what? He's had his critics, especially the second half of the season. But for a spell, first half of the season, Sam Greenwood was basically producing moments that were getting us through games. It was never a case of he was dominating games. He was just scoring goals or providing assists or just doing basically having a say in games that was picking us up points during that sort of up and down little period in between the two really good runs and really bad runs. And yeah, as you say, I think to be honest, we'll probably do a separate video of just a keep, sell, loan, release. To be honest, as a podcast or as just a shorter YouTube video, I don't know, but yeah, he's involved, and then Alex Bangura comes in, steams in, and gets his goal. And I mean, do you know what? I actually thought, and I have thought this for a few weeks now. Whenever he's come off the bench, and it's weird because Bangura still, he almost still feels like a new signing. It's been so stop and start for him this season, especially with obviously Engel started off a little bit wobbly, then found his feet, then Bangura was injured, and then there was a period where it was sort of felt like it was Engel in, then Engel out, Bangura in, then Bangura out. And he never really got that real sort of chance to show the levels of consistency. And I've actually been really impressed with him when he's come on recently. I know they've only been sort of short substitute appearances, but he looked really promising on the left when he come on against Leeds. And again, scores today, had a couple of runs, was pretty solid defensively, albeit there wasn't all too much that he had to do. But he's a player that certainly I am looking at again from the recruitment side of things and thinking, do you know what? There definitely looks like there's a player there, and I'm looking forward to seeing after a full preseason and hopefully an injury-free preseason what kind of form he might start next season with. Because Engel obviously has missed the last few weeks, but it looks like Luke Thomas is going to go back to Leicester, and yeah, it should be an interesting battle. As you say, those players that have been there and had a full season under the belt now, going into their second season, you'd like to think that they'll improve even more and get that consistency that we've been looking for. And then, of course, Luke Ayling, again, another assist. Makes it 8 assists since he's joined Middlesbrough. I mean, quite ridiculous numbers in all. Like, in all seriousness, as much as I love Ryan Giles, he got 11 assists for the whole of last season. Luke Ayling's come in since January and got 8. I mean, it is honestly really, really impressive numbers. And yeah, I mean, just whilst we're talking about him, there was I seen something on Twitter that I can't remember the name, but anyway, some bloke and his little girl had stopped him for a photo outside the ground before the players had gone in. He said, "Are you going to stay next season then, Luke?" And it was something. His answer was, "Oh well, it's close. I hope so," or something like that. And then to BBC Tees after the game, he's confirmed that it's close to happening. It's not done and dusted. And Carrick also said that's something that we want to do. So all of them signs have got to point towards him staying on for another season, and it's deserved. I mean, we've found a new assist king. Ryan Giles, if you want to come back and have a competition with him next season, by all means, feel free to do so. But yeah, we've found a player that had come to the end of his Leeds career, and all of the comments were his legs have gone, he's done. And I'm not going to lie, after some okay performances to begin with, he did go through a spell where I thought, yeah, this isn't going to be for us. And then the back five give him a whole new lease of life. Then we transitioned back into the back four, and now he's like we said in the last podcast, he's made it almost impossible for us to not offer him a deal. And yeah, he's one of them that you hope here next season. And of course, as I say, cuts it back for another assist. Izzy was never going to miss, despite miss of the season, an early award against Huddersfield. Yeah, he was never going to miss. And I think he actually twice today, Luke Ayling, gives it the Bellingham, once to the south stand and once to the north stand. So listen, I think he's got more about him than Jude Bellingham. He's certainly got that marketability. I mean, just look at the haircut. It stands out.
He's just Cafu with a ponytail, isn't he?
Yeah.
Genuinely, genuinely, he's been fantastic since he's come in, and the news of him potentially signing on for next season is something that me and yourself have wanted, Chris, and I think a lot of Boro fans that weren't necessarily convinced by him in his opening few performances have started to come around to the idea of him being signed on, and that's great. He fully deserves it. I think he's been fantastic for the most part of his Boro career so far, and you can see already in the 4 or 5 months that he's been at the club, the relationships that he's formed with specific teammates. I suppose Lyle, that's the main one, isn't it? You can see the bond that those two have with each other, and
They
yeah,
absolutely love one another, don't they?
yeah, and it is lovely to see. Yeah, fantastic performance from Luke Ayling today. 2 assists, and I'm just all for it for the meme content of the video. Everyone knows the video if they follow Boropolis, the old I can't even describe the video. Is the bloke just a man that they've
I
put on the
think
street?
he just happens to have a beard and a top knot, and drunkenly 2 Leeds fans have just bumped into him and just thought, we've got to sing the Luke Ayling chant because it looks slightly like him. And he's absolutely as confused, as unbeknown. I'm pretty sure he has absolutely no idea who Luke Ayling is still to this day. But yeah, it is a very, very funny video, I must say. And every time he gets an assist, which is most weeks over the last couple of months, it's been posted on the Boropolis X account, Twitter account. And yeah, it will be, as long as he's here next season, it will continue to be posted whenever he does anything notable. And hopefully, once the confirmation that he is staying is done, we'll just post it again, because any excuse, it's getting posted. I'm not going to lie, Nathan, I love it. We did speak last week about our predictions for the Lap of Honour. Unfortunately, Clarkey didn't slide tackle anyone's children, but wholesome nonetheless. Nice to see some of the players that have been out injured. Nice to see, the players really appreciating the fans, and also nice to see that Latilaf could, if his playing career doesn't work out for whatever reason, could go and join the Red faction and sort of lead them, because he was getting right into his own chant, wasn't he?
Yeah, I think he'd be able to pursue a career in choreography, definitely, or just dancing. Real nice to see the players at the end of the season give their appreciation to the fans that have followed them through thick and thin this season. Some really big highs, some real lows as well, I suppose, in that. But yeah, I think something that always stands out with this club in particular is that no matter how good or bad it gets, the support usually remains the same, especially away from home, always traveling numbers. And yeah, with the momentum that's been gained towards the end of this season, the optimism is very high heading into next season, and hopefully after a big summer again, in terms of just taking us to another level. I'm sure that the away days will just continue to just sell out at a rate of knots again as we move on into 2024-25.
Yeah, and I mean that brings us on. You're looking ahead to next season to, I guess, summarizing this season, and what better way to do that than with our own little series of awards. We've obviously spoken about the club awards, but of course, everyone wants to hear the awards that we're going to be dishing out. I mean, to be honest, we haven't really sort of come up with any like really quirky ones, but the categories are as followed. So, player of the season. We've scrapped young player of the season because we all know who it would have been anyway. So, player of the season, goal of the season, moment of the season, disappointment of the season. I guess that sort of is disappointment slash lowest part of the season. And then finally, we're basically just calling it the special mention award, just because there's so many players that you deserve an awful lot of credit and deserve to be singled out, but probably haven't just quite done enough to be player of the season. So we're calling it the special mention award. So Nathan, I've already sort of give my answer away. I think you agree with me, but I'm still going to ask you anyway. Player of the season for me, no doubts about it. It was Rav. We've already spoken about how good he is. First season in English football at his age. He's just phenomenal. He just oozes class, and he is an absolute Rolls Royce.
Yeah, it is Rav as well for me. Think that there is a, a good couple of players that could have been up for this award, but it's almost like a tier list in that Rav just stands out in a category of his own this season, taking into consideration all of the different elements of him being a young player coming into a new country, a struggling side, and cementing himself as a real top player, not just for us, but for the division as well. Yeah, he's a top player, and yeah, we'll probably hear a lot more Championship fans next season talking about Rolls-Royce Rav.
Yeah, absolutely. He is different gravy, isn't he, that boy? So yeah, I guess the most sort of obvious one out the way. Goal of the season, Nathan. I must admit, I went with Greenwood, and it was an unbelievable goal. But I think because at that point, Leicester hadn't really had many wobbles, and because of the fact that we defended so well and we hadn't created an awful lot of chances, for him to have the audacity to go and whip a free kick into the top corner off the underside of the bar, and we'd, I mean, obviously, as we've spoken about, we don't usually we see each other in the stadium, but because obviously I'm coming from Northumberland, I was going to use the disgusting place that I'm from there, but Northumberland, I'm going to say. You're in the stadium, I'm in the stadium, we have a chat at half time, but obviously we don't spend the day together because we'd spent the day together on Baker Street having a few drinks and then just went and beat the league leaders who were just smashing everyone at the time, let's be honest. It made it all that more sweeter. And I mean, the goal itself is just it's probably one of the best goals Sam Greenwood's ever going to score in his career.
Yeah, it was top class. And as mentioned, obviously, with it being in November and Leicester were runaway league leaders at the time, I think they'd only been beaten once before that. And then obviously they rocked up at our place. As mentioned, had spent the day together that day, and Leicester fans coming out the train station singing straight back up, straight back up. And yes, fair enough, they have done that, but we've taken 6 points off them, and that was the first three. And it was nice to send them packing with a worldie of a free kick and having put in a really good performance on the day to top it off with a goal of that quality was just really nice. For overall quality, I'd say that is the goal of the season. But for the goal that sort of meant the most to everyone, it will have been Hayden Hackney against Chelsea for the moment that hit the back of the net and the ground literally just erupted in sort of shock that we'd taken the lead, but also just sheer emotion of leading in a semi-final against the blue £1 billion bottle jobs, as G Nev calls them. Yeah, for the moment that hit the back of the net, it was just ridiculous. I don't think I've heard the Riverside that loud, even for Stuani's goal when we got promoted. I think honestly that Hackney goal was probably louder. A ridiculous goal that stands out for the moment, and obviously it's the only goal of the game that wins us a semi-final, a major semi-final. So that one does stand out as well, and with it being a homegrown player that scores it, it makes it all the more sweeter. But my own little special mention at the end is just because I'm squeezing every last little bit because it's the end of season awards. But having been there in the ground, Johnny Howson's goal away at Huddersfield, just for the Leadbitter-esque moment of deflation to elation within a couple of seconds, being there, being gutted that we weren't going to beat Huddersfield, who were one of the worst sides in the league. And then the corner comes in and Clark, he gets an assist and Howson leathers it into the ground in off the bar, and Boro come away from the game with 3 points at the end of that. I thought that was a real nice moment, especially to sort of give it to the home fans a little bit after the penalty save. It was really nice.
Yeah, yeah. And I think just in terms of like actual quality as well, I think a few people have mentioned it. Marcus Force's turn and goal sort of without the ball hitting the floor against or touch and finish against Sunderland at home. I think had we have won that game, may have been talked about an awful lot more. I think because obviously of the manner in which we chucked away the win that day, it gets forgotten about a little bit. But the actual finish itself is ridiculous. It is the touch to set himself to spin and then make the contact as sweet as what he does on the volley is, well, it's absolutely beautiful, to be honest. You've kind of ruined a moment of the season award because you've already said it's the Hackney one, and I was going to say that as
No,
well.
no, no, it's not. It's not my moment of the season.
I mean, you've described mine. I'll just quickly go with moment of the season. You've sort of, as I say, you've summed it up well, but I think just overall, and at the time, I was like, when the draw was made, I was a little bit almost disappointed because I thought, oh well, Chelsea are on a rough run of form. If we can get them back to the Riverside in the second leg, and it's 1-0 or 2-0, or we can even go to Stamford Bridge and get a draw, then we're going to give ourselves every chance. But I mean, I can't even remember what happened in the second leg now, to be honest. So it's strange that that's just slipped my memory. But in terms of the first leg, you wouldn't have got that little bit of belief. There was inside every Middlesbrough fan that night coming out the ground, there was a little bit of, oh my God, we could actually reach a major cup final here. Like, we've just beaten Chelsea and we could potentially go to Stamford Bridge and just park 11 buses on the goal line and pray that we can try and get to a major cup final. And yeah, okay, it didn't pan out like that, but just for that moment of, oh my God, we've just beat a team that have spent a gazillion quid. And because it was Chelsea, because the Riverside was absolutely packed, as you say, even more special because it was Hayden Hackney, a local lad that had scored. It was, yeah, the atmosphere was incredible. Really, really, really incredible. And that I think I tweeted something on the Boropolis account that regardless of what happens after the second leg, we're always going to have that, and I still stand by it. It was for that night, for that game, and we had no idea what was going to happen in the second leg. I'll always remember that, and I'll always just remember sort of how ridiculous the atmosphere was. It literally, as you say, I mean, Brighton still stands like ahead in sort of levels of football matches that I've been to watching Middlesbrough. That is just on its own pedestal, but that's right up there, and it does get close to that because it was a wonderful evening. Nathan, moment of the season. I think I know what this might be. I'll be disappointed if it's not. I'm not going to say it yet. You tell me what it is.
My moment of the season was beating that lot up the road 4-0
Yeah,
on their own patch.
nailed it. I knew exactly that you were going to say that. Just because, Nathan, I saw the amount of units of alcohol that you consumed that night.
Yeah, it was a class day, a class day. And my honest thought process at the time was, why on earth am I heading up the road to watch us go and play these? They were pretty good at the time and had picked up a good few points early on in the season. I think the game before we played them, they'd played on Sky on the Friday night away Sheffield Wednesday and was something like 3-0 up after 15 minutes. And I just thought, oh, for Christ's sake, why am I even going here? Traveling up on the bus, still got the memory of just having my headphones in, seeing them all stood there waving the six fingers at the buses that were rolling into the Stadium of Light and thinking, yeah, this could be a real bad afternoon. This staying in the game early on, both teams having a couple of chances, seeing Roberts run through our full team and nearly score, and then the red card happens. And I'd said to the people around me in the first half, I said I'd take a point. I'd take a point before kickoff. And I said even when they'd had the red card, I was like, we've been that bad so far this season. I'd take a point still against 10 men. I'm not bothered. And then to come out in the second half and just roll them over dead easy and just pagger them. It was just absolutely brilliant. Seeing Dale Fry whip a crossing with his weaker foot and Greenwood bury it in the top corner.
Do you know what? I completely forgot. I should have given my player of the season to someone else. The bloke that made I'm not happy with Sam Greenwood, like, that's my moment of the season. Scrap Chelsea. That video is my everything. That is my moment of the season. I'd forgotten about that because I haven't seen it in a while, but he gets player of the season and moment of the season.
Yeah, it just honestly the amount of things that happened that day and come from that result were just brilliant. To see Greenwood score, his dad, who was a Mackham in the away end, and seeing Isaiah Jones sit Jack Clark on his arse and just waltz round him, square the ball across, big tree, bang, 2-0, game done. And then just to see us walk about as if it's a training exercise for the last half an hour and just running another 2 goals just for the sake of it. To sing about Tony Mowbray hating Mackhams and leaving that game being stood outside the Stadium of Light, knowing that we just absolutely rolled them over and just thinking, do you want to know what? I wouldn't usually, but I'm going straight to the pub. And yeah, as you mentioned, I had a terrific night following the result. And most of it is documented on my Twitter page as well. So yeah, if anyone wants to scroll deep into my Twitter page, there are some horrendous tweets in there from that evening. But yeah, that stands out as one of the top moments following Boro this season. Going to the Stadium of Light and just absolutely battering them. It's almost laughable.
Yeah, it is. It really did just come out of nowhere. And now, to be honest, I'm not going to be able to concentrate for the rest of this podcast because that clip's just in my mind again. And to be honest, I'd forgotten about it. I can't. I'm not going to forgive myself, but I'm not going to let that slip my memory anymore. I mean, it was just incredible, and it still is incredible. And yeah, for as long as Sam Greenwood is a footballer, he's got a special place in my heart just for that alone. So we've given our moments of the season, ending on a couple of negatives, I guess. Or in fact, no, we've got the special mention award, the one that we've basically made up. I think, to be honest, I don't want to go negative because this has been a positive podcast. Low point of the season, it's got to be Stoke, hasn't it? It's got to be Stoke. We went 6 points away from the relegation zone. Stoke were for want of a better word, a bag of shit at the time, and they beat us, and we looked just as bad, if not worse. And you started to look over your shoulder, and it was just grim. It was really, really grim. And yeah, I mean, to be honest, Nathan, if you're happy with that as the chosen worst moment of the season, I'm happy to move on to the special mention award, to be honest.
Actually, I'm not happy with that being the worst moment of the season. And
Right.
we've spoken about this moment a couple of times as the season has moved onwards, and we've almost laughed at it to sort of take pity on ourselves. And you know the moment because I can see it in your face.
I actually don't know what you're going to say here.
I'll set the scene. It's September time, Middlesbrough at home to Queen's Park Rangers.
Oh God. Oh God. Yeah.
Andre Dizel has picked the ball up
Yeah.
40 yards out
Yeah.
and leathered a left-footed shot, arrowed past Senny Dieng into the top corner, in off the post, and from where we sit in the West Stand,
I- oh God.
seeing
You see, this is what has happened. We finished the season that well and we've won today that I've forgot. You've brought up this horrid memory inside of my head, and I know exactly what you're going to say, but I'm going to let you explain it because I don't want to even relive it.
hearing the silence amongst the home crowd, a small murmur from the away end as they score and go 1-0 up in the game. And from where we sit in the West Stand, you can sometimes hear like little raptures of applause from the away dugout if they score a goal. What's come from the QPR dugout on this afternoon was Gareth Ainsworth with his snakeskin boots on, his shirt probably buttoned down to his, I don't even know, his midriff.
I'd say just above his belly button, to be honest.
Yeah. And seeing him turn round to the director's box and give it the AC/DC rock on with a woohoo.
Yeah, that I, I'm actually speechless because again, I'd forgotten about that, and I was happy I'd forgotten about. I'm not happy with Sam Greenwood, like because that was a funny one. I'd forgotten about that, and that had been sort of just deleted from my memory. The fact that I've just had a, I can picture him now with his silly boots on and his jeans or trousers or whatever he was wearing that was far too tight, some sort of like hippie necklace and the ridiculous hair. And you know what? He seems like a lovely bloke, Gareth Ainsworth. But when you haven't won a game yet all season and you see him produce that, I think that yeah. In fact, you know what? I'm glad you've brought that up because that is worst moment of the season. Horrendous, horrendous.
It
I wouldn't wish that on my worst enemy seeing that.
it was truly sickening. And yeah, to pile on the misery, Jack Colback scored as well that day,
Yeah,
which is it's just even worse. What a calamitous start to the season. I swear, honestly, if we produce something like that again, I'm ending this podcast
yeah,
next
yeah.
season.
It
Next
might have
season,
to. I don't think I can. I don't honestly think, and I mean it's inevitable. It will happen. I don't think I can take a sort of 5 games in 3-0 defeat at Coventry again. Give us them just around Christmas or something. At least then it'll be sort of dark and you can't really see the pitch and we might nick a scruffy 1-0 or something. Not a live on Sky, sunshine beaming down and the stadium just basically laughing at us again.
yeah,
And
with Hayden Coulson at left back.
yeah, I mean that talk about low moments of the season. Listen, I don't want to be too harsh, but that really was yeah, that was a low point. Right, wrapping up now. Special mention award. Let's do it. Special mention award. It's Baldini in it.
Baldini, the way in which he came into this side, thrown in after 18 months out, thrown in at Ellen Road, the Bear Pit, having already gone 1-0 up, already gone 2-1 down within the space of about 30 seconds. Another low moment, by the way, having been there that day. Going and seeing Paddy McNair go down and thinking we're going to have to put him on. And yeah, obviously struggled in that game, having given away the penalty. pretty much just after coming on, but since then has quite literally been one of our best players and most consistent as well because he hasn't faced an injury at all. He's pretty much been ever present in the squad since then, and he's earned a lot of praise for his performances and deservedly so. So happy for him in the way that just as a player that has been out for so long to come in and you can be sort of not very confident, not necessarily in your ability, but in your body after being out for so long and maybe shirk out of challenges and stuff because of you don't trust your body to be able to withstand any wear and tear after being out for so long. But he's been throwing his head in the line of sight, for Christ's sake. He's been magnificent. And look, a lot of people are not sure on his position uh, heading into next season, whether he's going to be in the starting 11 or whether Darragh Lenihan or Dale Fry are going to come in and perhaps take that position. Look, he's certainly put himself in the conversation as a starter for Middlesbrough next season, and it honestly wouldn't surprise me at all if he starts next season as one of our centre halves, and the other one will obviously be Rav. So yeah, I think honestly, it's his position to lose at this moment in time, and yeah, he's completely stood out as one of our better players in this second half of the season.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I'm not gonna lie and say that sometimes he doesn't make me very, very nervous, and I think almost at times it's probably more so that it sounds really harsh, this, but he doesn't make things look easy, if that makes sense. He's almost got a sort of awkward style, an awkward like
I think
technique.
it's because of his frame, I think, because you see
Yeah,
a big
yeah,
6'4" centre half that is relatively good on the ball. He's confident on the ball, but because of his frame, he looks sort of unorthodox on it.
yeah,
So I think that's
yeah.
what makes people nervous. But I honestly think that he's completely in control most of the time.
Yeah, maybe he is, and maybe I'm just nervous. But yeah, I mean, say what you like. Look, I think there's still definitely, let's not sort of underrate Darragh Lenihan here. For me, when he's fit, he's still one of our best central defenders. And obviously, we all know what Dale Fry can do when he's available. Obviously, would like that to be an awful lot more. But yeah, for it, even for just for him to be starting as many games and playing at a really, really good level, a respectable level, throwing his body in after such an injury layoff is incredible, really. So I think it was important that obviously we just give him a special shout out because like you say, to have that long out and then to be one of the more dependable players in the team and the most reliable in terms of being available, yeah, it's a really, really good achievement. Nathan, yeah, we've finished the awards. We're at the end of the season. I think all that's left to be said really is just a massive thank you from myself. Obviously, I know you will say the exact same, but for again the continued support, whether it's the podcast, whether it's Twitter, whether it's even Instagram, just everything again. Like we earn no money from this. We went to the awards this season, the Football Content Awards, had an amazing time there, and it's a hobby that we love doing. We'd love to spend more time doing, but it is time consuming. But just it sort of gives us every reason to continue to do this when you are seeing the numbers tuning in, especially on audio platforms, and seeing the likes and the shares and everything rolling around on various platforms. So yeah, just a massive thank you, really. And Nathan, I'll let you end on a little thank you message as well, because the people that do tune in and the people that do support various pages absolutely deserve it, I think.
Yeah, 100%. It's fantastic to have a platform to come on here and talk, and I suppose at times vent frustrations about this football club, sing praises as well, obviously. But yeah, it wouldn't happen if we didn't see the numbers that listen and appreciate the conversations that we do have on here. And yeah, obviously the numbers on Twitter as well are just ridiculous, really. And what we will hopefully say is that everyone will be staying tuned for the summer, because hopefully Kieran Scott is fully dialed in and ready to go for what will be another fantastic summer transfer window, in which we will cover everything on Boropolis on X. And by God, are we looking forward to it? It's our favorite time of the year.
Yeah, it really is. It's like our sort of weird little Twitter obsessed Christmas time of the year when you can just scroll through random articles. It's silly times in the morning when you should probably be asleep, trying to translate a link to some random Brazilian wonder kid that we've never heard of. So yeah, we've all got that to look forward to. Yes, as we both said, thank you ever so much for everything again. We will, as we say, try our best to get guest podcasts arranged. We will try our best to do some content throughout the summer, whether it's obviously it won't be as sort of consistent in terms of weekly, but we'll try and do some videos, try and see what we can do in terms of doing content over the summer transfer window and in the build up to next season. But yeah, a massive thank you again for all of you for watching and listening. Please do like and subscribe and rate and review on YouTube and podcast platforms. And yeah, for the final time of this season, Nathan, it's been an emotional one. That has been series 3 of the Boropolis podcast. Thank you ever so much for watching and listening again. And we will hopefully see you again very soon. Thanks again, everyone.